tēnā koutou. My work in law, I do a bit of work in the Waitangi Tribunal. One of the reports I did was for our Ngāti Apakura whānau, myself and a couple others, on documenting what happened here. It took us about 2 years of visiting our karaua kuia, going to the various marae, interviewing people, as well as going through a lot of archival research, material in Wellington and people's own personal collections. And it was a fascinating mahi for us, but it was a privilege for me and my colleagues to work on the Ngāti Apakura report. As cousin Nigel said, when he cited Sir Winston Churchill, he said history is basically up to the victors. The people who write history, and you think about this, whānau, when you write history, it's an act of power. Who wrote this and whose version of the events that happened here is captured here? We wrote up this report documenting Ngāti Apakura's views of history and of what happened here. And the sad thing about it was it's actually not recorded in a lot of our official history books. They don't record what happened here, and many of them actually downplayed what happened here.
What we have now is that we've all come together to start looking at the New Zealand Wars. So in 1863, the Crown crossed the Mangatawhiti stream further north of us towards Tuakau. They crossed the Mangatawhiti stream, which essentially meant that they invaded the Waikato. This wasn't a simple, we're moving people down here. This was an actual invasion. Back in 1863, Governor Grey had heard that these Waikato Māori were going to attack Auckland. It was a lie.
Rumour.
On the 9th of July, 1863, the governor issued a proclamation. And on that proclamation, he said that if you were a Māori in that northern Waikato area, you must swear allegiance to the Crown. If you do not swear allegiance to the Crown, then you are going to be evicted from your home. 2 days they were given in order to swear allegiance. They didn't. The invasion started. And so we're going to walk this land. We're going to make our way further on down Rangiaowhia Road, and then we're going to tell you some more stories. And then you're going to see what's happened here.
So we are going to just take our time down towards the church, just down here at the St. Paul's Anglican Church. I want you to remember safety. We're on the road. Just enjoy our time together as we toddle off down that way.
Whakarangara koutou ki te ara whānui tū ai ta kīngitanga na mātana te whiwhiwhiu ki a whitikau ka he ki reira ki taranaki. Ka whiua ki roto whanganui ko pēhi tūroa ka he ki reira. Ka whiua ki roto taupō ko te heuheu ka he ki reira. Ka whiua ki roto rotorua ko te amohau ka he ki reira. Ka whiua ki te taira whiti ko hikurangi te maunga e kore neke neke ko takania takirau te tangata ka he ki reira. Ka whiua ki roto Waikato ko pōta tau te tangata, he manai heke mai no nā mātāwaka o te motu. You can't not talk about kingitanga when you come to Rangiaowhia. You can't. You can't talk about rangiriri, mere mere, pāterangi, waiari, Rangiaowhia, Ōrākau, Pukehina hina, te ranga, te kaukaroa and te tarata. You can't talk about those places if you don't talk about kingitanga. And this year, we're commemorating 160 years, mai te tīmatanga o te kingitanga. And that little pātere I done at the start talks about one of our kraua, Matane te whiwhi, biggest iwi consultation ever. Now I want you to close your eyes, close your eyes. I want you to imagine a grove of peach trees here. Close your eyes and imagine. I want you to imagine cornfields and wheat and orchards full of ripe, succulent fruit. I want you to imagine gardens as far as the eye could see around here. I want you to imagine tamariki running around. I want you to imagine a race course. I want you to imagine 2 flour mills where they milled their own flour here. I want you to imagine you hear the bullets. I want you to imagine you can hear the horse hooves of the cavalry. I want you to imagine you can hear General von Temsky saying, "Fire!" I want you to imagine your koro running out with a white blanket as a sign of peace. Bang! I want you to imagine that they shot him. I want you to imagine that their house caught on fire. I want you to imagine that those people in that house were burnt alive. Open your eyes. That's what happened here at Rangiaowhia. They struck at symbols of the kingitanga because kingitanga stands for mana motu hake Māori. So when you go home, when the hikoi finishes today and you go home, you got a big job because we've got to keep the kōrero going. It's so important because this is a huge part of our history and makes up who we are as Māori today, as New Zealanders, as Kiwi. Koenei ngā kōrero, koenei ngā kōrero. Nō reira, koe nā tāku kia tātou. Don't forget, remember, and keep telling the stories.
This place was actually known as the Granary of the North Island. It was a huge hub of economic development and prosperity, but Māori signed the declaration there so that they could continue international trade. This was truly an economic heart, not only for Tainui, but for the country. This place had this church, this is all that's left now, the Anglican Church, Tahahi Katorika, a Catholic church, and a Māori wharekarakia as well. They had a big race course. Some of the early Europeans, when they came here, they were actually surprised at the wealth that was here. They wanted this land, so they introduced a policy of confiscation. If Māori aren't going to sell it, we're just going to take it by law. The battles that occurred, so there's Kōhero, Mere, Rangiriri, Pāterangi, Rangiaowhia, then Ōrākau. But what's important is we need to acknowledge our history because it's ours, no matter how disturbing. And that's what Rangiaowhia is about, whānau. They took this place out to bring down the kingitanga. And most wars, if not all wars, are battles over 2 things: land and power, property and sovereignty. Who's in control and who has the resources. Even wars now going on about those 2 things. They disguise it as a whole bunch of other things, but at the end of the day it boils down to those things. That's what we're striving to do here. Tell the full picture, and it's nigh impossible to tell it all, but tell what best we can, what happened, because as one of the themes of this whole kaupapa, me mau mahara tātou, we must remember. We must remember what happened here, because if we don't remember, we don't learn the lessons, and then we continue to do these silly things against each other. So we must remember what happened here, whānau. Okay? Kei te pai, kōrero mai.